Welcome to ChessBase Magazine 162. The top tournaments of this issue are, of course, the Chess Olympiad in the Norwegian city of Tromsø, where China won, second Hungary, and third India. And the ladies' Olympiad was won by Russia for the third time in a row. There are many annotated games, over 80 in this issue. Then Daniel King's videos of the day, of the rounds. Videos from the ChessBase TV setup in Tromsø, where Andre Schulz and Daniel King had many guests. And finally, Rustem Kazimjanov has recorded 2 videos, his games against Kramnik and against Naidic. The second super tournament was in Switzerland, in Biel, where Maxime Vachier-Lagrave won, and he also annotated a game for this issue. And Daniel King again has made the videos of the day. And finally, the Sinquefield Cup in St. Louis, where Fabiano Caruana won with 8.5 out of 10. And this really is a fantastic performance in the sky of 3,103. Really amazing. Now he is clearly the number 2 in the world rankings, behind world champion Magnus Carlsen. Okay, now back to the Olympiad in Tromsø. There are many annotated games, and I have selected Kramnik Topalov from Russia, Bulgaria. White to move and win, and take your time. And, of course, Vladimir has annotated it in detail. I had to delete almost all of the annotations due to the space limitations of the video format. So, white to move. Typical combination with a passed pawn. And, by the way, I will also deal with the theme of passed pawns in the endgame. But this, of course, is not an endgame. But, nevertheless, the passed pawn makes a spectacular compilation possible. And now black can give a few checks, but black cannot really defend. And Kramnik's passed pawn decided the day after a few further moves. Payamaya Negi has annotated his game against Rustem Kazimjanov. And here's a difficult rook and king, so I had to select it, of course. Black can still draw. Take your time. Black's rook must remain on a3 to be able to take the f3 if white's king crosses over. So after king a7, it's still a draw. Almost all rook endings seem to be drawn, really. While in the game, after rook a1, the rook is now badly placed, cannot take the f-pawn, while white's king crosses over, and then white either wins the g5 pawn and then wins, or with the f3 on the board, or white can simplify to a 1. Rook ending, so Kazimjanov resigned. And finally, Fabiano Caruana has annotated a game from the Dortmund tournament against Ponomariov, and it's really, really fascinating. White to move and win. Rook e7, really beautiful. The queen must take. There's no defense anyway. And then comes the point. Bishop a6. And so, Ponomariov still executed the move, sportingly allowed Fabiano to execute the beautiful mate. There are 11 opening surveys in traditional format. I have selected 4 of them. I have written one on the king's gambit. And attacking with white in Quade style. I will only deal with setups where black plays g5. And in the first part I will deal with Fischer's defense, what Bobby called the refutation of the King's Gambit. The King's Gambit is busted, he even claimed. And Becker's defense, h6. So only with these 2 approaches I will deal in the first part. And in the second part I will also deal with g5. But nevertheless I have selected Michael Agermosi Jensen against Rasmus Svane from the Politiken Cup Copenhagen 2011 to show the idea, the Quade autopilot, as John Shaw has coined it in his excellent monumental work on the King's Gambit. Yeah, and the autopilot is as follows. White always wants to undermine with g3. Not with h4, but with g3. And then after g4 and f3, this autopilot position is on the board, and white wants to follow up with usually queen d2, casting long, and probably h3, or rook e1, knight f5. This is some kind of autopilot plan, and please note that the bishop f1 remains there usually for a very long time until it's really clear where it belongs to, and it very rarely in this quad setup, this as it is now on the board, goes to c4. Completely different to the usual king's gambit. And here I think if white can reach such an autopilot position, then white has good compensation for the pawn, and it is over the board more difficult to play with black. Now, usually white has this plan, and black needs to find some moves to find a place for the king to hide and so on. And here Jensen managed to defeat very strong Rasmus Schwane, who has had much more ELO points, but nevertheless, it was difficult. This is also probably slightly inaccurate because white can get in knight f5 now quite cheap. And Jensen won a beautiful game. And even Alexei Shirov shows this, by the way, against Yevgeny Alexeyev in Lublin. So again, king's gambit. And here now Becker's defense. Yeah, and it's not very surprising that the quad plan is most dangerous against Becker's defense, as h6 is prophylaxis against undermining with h4. But okay, we don't want to play h4 anyway, so here it is very dangerous. I think now black must take on g3 in some way. This already is extremely dangerous, as Daryl Nightingale, correspondence player, has found this extremely strong shot, and now it is very, very difficult for black. Shirov won a beautiful game, and Niklas Huschenbeit also defeated Barnish in Plovdiv 2012, and you can see more in the article. So it is a weapon for the white player in the King's Knight's Gambit against systems when black plays g5, and with third g5 I will deal in the second part of this survey in the next ChessBase magazine. Here I will only deal with a quade plan against Becker's defense and against Fischer's defense. Okay. Dennis Brader deals with the Spanish 4 knights game and claims that black can equalize comfortably if he knows what he's doing with knight d4. Bishop c4 was dealt with in ChessBase magazine 113, and here he looks at bishop a4. Yeah, and I'm almost sure that the game went like this. a5 is also interesting, but this also gives very good compensation, as Brader claims. Knight e2, then bishop g4, a3, then d5, and after taking, then Navarra lost relatively quickly against Zbynek Radczek in Prague 1998. Yeah, really black has very strong attack and can even play the Greek gift sacrifice here. And after e5, Brader claims that bishop g5 already wins for black. It is quite fascinating how strong black's play is due to the clumsy placement of white's minor pieces. So, if you need a weapon with black, then look at Brader's article together with the older ones on bishop c4. And with white, you have now a nut to crack if you play the Spanish 4 knights game. What to do after the active knight d4. Mikhail Krasenkov has more an article on a philosophy of the closed Sicilian with white. It's not so much about sharp theoretical knowledge, it's just a typical setup and its philosophy. So if you're more a player who wants these principled setups, then Krasenkov's article might be for you. This is Bilek Georgiou, Bucharest 1968. And white almost always aims for a setup like this, with a knight on h3, almost always. Of course, chess isn't so easy that you can make the same moves against anything, okay. But in principle, this is the way to attack. And here, surprisingly, casting short is already inaccurate. Now f5 shows white's concept in its full beauty and danger. And surprisingly, now White can even sacrifice the exchange as the light square initiative gives him enough counterplay. And if the opponent doesn't know this, it's not a trap. It's really a concept. And this already loses, and Black converted convincingly. So if you need a weapon against a Sicilian and like these opening strategies and philosophies, then Michael Krasenkov's article is for you. And with Black, of course, as a Sicilian player, you need a weapon against it. And finally, Alexei Kuzmin looks at the Bardur-Hjubava system. And again, it's more like a philosophy. There are some sharp lines, but White just wants to say that I can play with knight c3. The theory might think c4 is called for, but Hjubava system is with knight c3. And it's dangerous, as shown against Mamedyarov in Dubai Rapid Game 2014. Yeah. White just has a slight initiative, and after c5, he can even play with knight b5, and Kuzmin claims that White already is slightly better here with his strategical initiative. So again, if you want a system which is not theoretically so heavily loaded, you can look at the Bardur-Hjubava system. And it's not playing for a draw. White plays to keep a slight initiative and then to win, and maybe Black already now doesn't really know what to do. Okay, then there are opening videos by Vtáčnik on the anti-Grünfeld. So with c4 and f3, Lubomir Vtáčnik shows you with White a weapon to avoid the Grünfeld in the video. Two videos by Alexei Shirov on a weapon against the Reti with Black. Yeah. And here Alexei Shirov has made two videos, one against casting short and one against c4, and yeah, that's a way for Black against this Reti setup. Finally, Marin looks at Nihua T, and it's a bird strategy from White's point of view. White starts with b3 in the first move, so maybe it's better if I just enter it to b3, and later f4 comes, and White plays some kind of bird strategy there. Okay, in the columns, Daniel King looks again at Kazimdzhanov Kramnik, in its move-by-move format. Rustam Kazimdzhanov had looked at it in a video, so you can compare both or take your preferred format. And if you do take Daniel King's approach, then really answer all interactive questions yourself first, and only then compare your thoughts with Daniel's answers. Oliver Ray looks in the tactic column at model attacks against the castle king, and again, so the tactic exercises yourself first, really to keep your tactical muscles sharp, your tactical eye, your vision. Really practice tactics on a regular basis, and Oliver Ray's columns are a very good starting point. Every 2 months. Okay, from Dorian Rogozenko's strategy column, good bishop, bad bishop, I have selected Thorson Bronstein, Reykjavik 1969, black to move. Okay, the worst place piece is a bad bishop, but maybe double-edged bishop might be also another way of looking at it, and it's really good to develop an intuition for these King's Indian bishops or French bishops when they are bad, when they are just bad, plainly, and when they are double-edged, when they have still a lot of potential functions in the position and so on. And here Bronstein played bishop f6 to improve the bishop, and here bishop e2 was a mistake, I don't know, whatever, maybe king g2 or whatever. And then the tide had turned completely. David Bronstein uncorked 96 and had taken over the initiative completely. And the bad bishop is really a very important strategical team, cropping up very often. And so look at Dorian's article to help you develop an intuition when a bishop is really bad, and when it has when it only looks bad but has important strategical functions for the position as a whole. In the endgame column, I look at passed pawns must advance. And last not least, Rainer Knag has selected 6 opening traps from the Tromsø Olympiad, and I have selected from the 6 El Yavich dive from the match Lebanon, New Zealand. And yeah, in the following position, Black already must really know what he's doing, because this is very dangerous over the board. It's not so easy to find C6. Other moves fall already out. Oh, it's not really into a trap. It's fail to meet the requirements of the position. As in knight e7, bishop e7 already is a mistake. How to exploit it? Solve it yourself first, and only then at Rainer Knag's solution in traditional or video format on the DVD. And now I wish of you a lot of fun with ChessBase Magazine 162.